supposed to look single?
I don't mean available like I'm available on Tinder.
I couldn't say the word.
Damn it, woman, we're out of pepperoni again.
Dude, you don't know me. You don't give me a stuffed animal.
Oh, why do I never listen to me?
So I would pick up the phone and say, you have 7 days and hang up.
No exact direction.
That's awesome.
I would never share Michael. Never. All mine. All mine.
Damn it, woman, you loaded the dishwasher again wrong.
So there's this voice, and it's kind of been with me since childhood, but people told me to listen to them instead of to it, so we kind of grew apart. But it's always been there, telling me things like, don't eat that. Go talk to that person. Shh. Sometimes I listen. Thanks for listening. Sometimes I don't. Oh my God, I know what your problem is. You just can't. In September of 2019, I was laying on a mattress because a cyst had turned into an abscess that was necrotizing fasciitis, and I was trying to convince myself to go to the hospital or the ER, even though I didn't have insurance. And that voice really forcefully said to me, "Do you want to be dead in 3 days?" And I guess I didn't, so I went to the ER and ended up having emergency surgery, and the next day the surgeon said, "You would have been dead in 2 days." So I become even more appreciative and attuned and making it a priority to connect with that voice because, you know, it's kind of a sexy voice, and just between us, I kind of like when it bosses me around, keeps me on track.
I think all young people see it, especially when you're my age. If you're single, it's a bad thing. But when you're my age, looking back and at all the tragedies or wonderful relationships you've had that you've learned upon, it's not really so bad. Right now I'm choosing to be single because I don't really find anyone that I want to spend my time with. And until that time happens, if somebody can interest me so much that I just don't want to go to work 130 hours every 2 weeks, then by all means, please do. But until then, I'm okay with being quote unquote single.
What do you love most about yourself?
My resilience. I've bounced back more times than I care to admit, from stuff, people, whatever you want to call it, and my outlook on life and my sense of humor.
Rios,
Yeah.
What do you feel available for?
I'm available for some love. Bring it.
I see it as this groundlessness of this liminal between of what was and what possibly could be. And it's a very vulnerable space. And it's a span of 18 months from when my husband asked for divorce to when we lost our home, lost community on government assistance, lost my mom, turned 49. Now I'm like, now what? I was completely lost. And I don't even think groundlessness could even encapsulate it. I truly felt I wasn't existing, and suicidal ideation was very prevalent in my life. I really didn't want to go forward. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I want anymore. Like, I need to stay in this moment. It's going to be hard. I'm going to lean into the blade, like they say in the Buddhist perspective of lean into the blade to get through it and lean into that pain. And that's what I did. Leaning into that pain and literally just feeling such, gut-wrenching wounds and scars that I went through. I feel available to Jill Renee Hildebrand at age 50, to Jill Renee Hildebrand, who's postmenopausal, a mother, an orphan, available to what's ever going to happen. I stay in the moment, and so whatever will transpire, whatever will materialize is what I'm available for now, but it's got to be in accords with my children and myself. So I'm available.
2012, I fulfilled a long-time dream of going to Mount Shasta in Northern California. In 2020, I had a thought one morning that I'd like to return to Mount Shasta and go to the summit, which was followed by another thought that was like, no, I've already been to Mount Shasta. Later that afternoon, I got a craving for curly fries, which is interesting because I think that they're gross. But oh well, and I went in to wash my hands.
Good one.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about developing that relationship with that inner voice. So my inner voice told me to go to a certain fast food restaurant to get some potatoes. Because the thing is I'm freaking vegan. There's no way that I would want to go to this restaurant. And when I went in to wash my hands, I saw this sign. Because I'd mentioned that I wanted to go to Mount Shasta, but I started thinking this morning, like, well, I've already been there. But then when it read that sign that said it's not about seeking new landscape, it's about seeing these landscapes with new eyes, I'm like, oh, of course I want to go. So now what I'm thinking though, because I'm also kind of told to be open to having another person go with me, I don't know if the question is why am I scared to be open to another person going with me, but I don't know, for some reason I am, I guess, right now. And that's okay. I think I'm a little scared of having a relationship, and I think that's okay for now.
Today, I've had a lot of healing. Time heals, wounds heals. I respect people that do not get divorced, and I respect people that do get divorced. And the word divorce, for me, I attach courage, tremendous courage for men and women that actually go through the process, because it's like a death. You cultivate this like almost child. You create this world of being together, and you create a family, and you create whatever it may be, whether children or dogs, whatever it may be. But once you get divorced, you have to bury that, because it no longer exists. When I first knew I had to get divorced, I remember reading a magazine and I was reading everything. How do you help your children? How do you help yourself? How do you keep everyone from being in pain? And I read the quote, the hardest thing about loving someone is letting them go than holding on. And I literally lived by that, because I did love him, but I knew we didn't belong together. There was deep, deep love for him, but we didn't belong together because we caused so much pain for each other. So I really needed to let him go. And by letting him go, I found myself, and I realized I'm amazing without him. He's amazing without me. Available for, wow, beauty, harmony, love, just to accept life and to understand everything happens for a reason, because still today, my ex does represent the challenges and the thing that I always have to remember about myself, that I'm amazing. It is my choice to allow people to come into my life and hurt me. I can also say no, thank you. I have so much love and so much to give, and I don't ever want to stop being able to be open to give and to receive. So that's what I'm available for, is to give and to receive.
I don't remember the moment that I could say it, but it was pretty early on in my writing process that I really embraced the word. And I figured it was mine, and it was hard earned, and it was my right to decide what that meant. It was a very sudden change. It was like Friday night nachos from the bar down the street and 2 o'clock in the morning and waking up and he was gone, like hours gone. Trying to make sense of how could this have happened to me, and feeling like there's a piece of information missing. There's something that I haven't grasped, that if somebody would explain it to me with sock puppets or, something something had to show up in my life to make it okay or make it not true. Fog is too easy of a metaphor. It's like being at the bottom of a bowl of pea soup. You can't breathe and you can't see anything and nothing makes sense. And there is great suffering in that stage, in that period, but coming to a place of acceptance was when things started to shift. So the hardest part was trying to make sense of the suffering and trying to make sense of the pain, because it doesn't make sense, except for on a cosmic level or over time. You can look back and go, well, this is when I learned, this is when I grew, this is when all of these things then showed up in my life next. And I can start to see some of those things now. It's a strange freedom. It's a freedom I would have never have chosen. But I guess what I'm open to from here is the idea that I get to pick the next half of my life. I get to decide what happens from here.
Okay, so if you're ready to get a little far out, and by far out I mean go deep within my psyche, I hope you are, because I drew pictures for this segment. So I had an acquaintance that I felt a very strong attraction to, and when we talked it felt very familiar, and one of those things where you feel like you've known that person before and you really, really want to have sex with them. And I don't know what they were feeling, but it was just this intense thing for me, except there was this little bubble that kept coming up of like some sort of apprehension, which I would have mistaken for attraction in the past. And another thing I need to mention is, like, if I was in the news feed of Facebook and this person, if I saw a post by them, my heart would like do this little right? Okay. So I asked my inner voice before going to sleep one night, please give me a dream or some sort of idea or thought of what is going on with this attraction that I feel. And as soon as I closed my eyes, this little story came to me in that dark space behind my forehead.
It was this little swirling universe of our two little hearts and where they all intersected. And then there was this like vision of all these cells dividing and like physical manifestations. And then I felt like we were two beings, and I was this man, the dark-haired one there, and my acquaintance was that ginger, and I think we were Welsh, because we kept saying do a lot, but we were definitely in love, and we had an amazing connection, if you know what I'm saying. But obviously we lived in a society where that would not have been, like, we couldn't have been together. So I ended up marrying a really nice lady, and on that wedding day, I said to my former lover there, we are going apart so we can come back together. And I think I meant that at a soul level, but maybe it was a little douchey, because years later, he ended up stabbing me to death in the woods. And I immediately forgave him and realized, that we're all one and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, killing me is not cool.
So, okay. One thing I noticed, though, is that I felt comfortable with myself, and I felt like I had brought some sort of peace to myself. And then when I was scrolling through the news feed, I saw a post made by that person, and nothing. My heart was just steady and like glad they're doing well.
Or a core tenet is that everyone has to find their person. That one person is going to meet all of your physical and emotional needs forever and ever because you've entered this contract. And I was already not a fan of marriage. If someone finds their person and has a long life commitment, I will celebrate that with you. But as far as it being the thing that has to fit for everyone, no, I already knew that was a no-go. Asexual is, at this point in my life, sex is meh. I just really actually have no interest in it, and I've considered myself, now that I know what the word means, aromantic, for a long time, since probably my 30s. So I don't need that connection. Throughout my life, what I admire, admire about myself is my independence and self-reliance. I don't need somebody to lean on, because to me that just smacks of codependence, and been there, done that. So I know that that's not healthy for anyone involved. And I view my boundaries, what I feel are healthy boundaries of how intimate I am or am not with some people, has been turned around back on me, and I've been accused of being cold and uncaring because I don't let certain people just pull me in. Something in my head says, danger, danger, danger. Available for connection, interpersonal connection that doesn't feel like codependence, that my job is to fix the other person. Oh, you're damaged from your childhood. If I love you enough, I can fix you. Because been there, done that as well. And other past behaviors that make me actually not a good girlfriend.
For the montage of men unloading the dishwasher correctly. Take a lesson, ladies.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I have heard a lot of people like complain about some of the vocabulary that comes with polyamory. Like these words are not entirely helpful, but they do classify common feelings. So even if they don't ever make it into like what people say on their day-to-day, I think they're pretty useful, so we don't have to have the same conversation over and over again to describe the same feeling.
I mean, I think it's different for everyone. So it's just having more than one relationship in your life at a time, but commitment's there.
One of the things that I've struggled with is that there are things that people want that don't always align with exactly what you want, but it like when you love someone, their desires are like in the basket of the thing that you love. So a lot of times what people strip away is what they feel like they can or can't say to their partner or whoever it is that they love, and getting people to express that and realizing that you might not always like the answer, but like that's still part of someone that you love, is a really important thing for me. And sometimes that even means that relationships end. Like some relationships just come to completion and they're over, and that can be difficult.
I really struggle with like the pressure of like what society sees relationships as, and then like my own thoughts of it.
Like when Allison and I first met, I think I had a whole lot of like bad ideas about like how to be in general. Like probably some like pretty bad ideas about like what it was to be a man or even a person. And like now I'm a whole lot more comfortable just expressing myself however, and I think a lot of that comes through like just having to like go over everything point by point, because everything's open for negotiation. And like, yeah, we've had a lot of conversations and some of them get a little bit tired, but it's from my point of view, it's worth it.
He, I guess, has really just accepted me for who I am, and I've never really felt that before.
So when I think of my availability, like I'm just there. Like, I exist emotionally, and I don't think that when someone enters my life and, like, I have, like, you know, feelings or desires for them, that I need to be afraid to acknowledge those, because that's part of who I am. And that's how I interact with polyamory. Like, I don't feel motivated to do anything. I just exist with the knowledge that I'm available.
I guess I'm just available to. I do think you covered it pretty well. I feel like I am just existing.
That's awesome.
Earlier in some clip when I was at that restaurant where I had been guided to just like go straight to that bathroom and see that sign and then leave, I said that I was afraid of being in a relationship, but that I was okay with that. And the thing is I was afraid to be in a relationship because I wasn't listening to my inner voice. Every single time my inner voice has warned me not to be with somebody or like run, I didn't listen, and I had all these hard lessons. But if I listen to my inner voice, I can't be with the wrong person. What was the hardest part of last year? When I was recovering from necrotizing fasciitis, it was often assumed by the hospital staff that I had a husband. So they'd be like, well, when your husband gets here, we'll teach him wound care. And I was just like, my husband, who's been MIA for 25 days, let's not put him to task. And I made one up. And his name is Corey. He's an engineer. He loves me, but he's just very busy. And don't tell him I'm not wearing my ring. But the hardest part was the coming home and having this fist-sized wound in my body and having to pack it myself. Having to be there for myself was the hardest part, but the most rewarding part. What do I love most about myself? I love my presence. I saw this body come back from the dead. Literally, I saw it like taking care of itself, doing everything that it needed to do. It is perfect and it only deserves praise. And what I love the most is being inside of it and witnessing this world no matter what is going on. I'm available for every moment. And I will cherish every moment. And here's the thing, if the moment brings another being who sees themselves as whole and who takes responsibility for all their bull crap and won't project it onto me, and who wants to be with me and just like love this world together until the relationship no longer benefits either of us, I'm available for that. And I'm also just available if that never happens. I'm available to the moment.
All mine. All mine.